Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine waking up tomorrow morning in a world exactly like this one. Same sky, same sun, same coffee, same sounds of the city or the village or the forest outside your window. Except for one thing. The Earth is flat. Not the Earth of conspiracy theories, not the Earth of internet arguments. A real, fully imagined, fully realized flat world with its own physics, its own geography, its own history, its own mysteries. A world where the horizon is not a curve but a true edge, where the sky behaves differently, where the oceans have a border, where civilization grew up in the shadow of something that our version of Earth has never had. This is what life looks like here. The disk stretches in every direction as far as any explorer has ever traveled. From above, if you could get above it, it would look like a vast, ancient coin floating in darkness, covered in oceans and continents, mountains and plains, rivers and deserts, alive and breathing and endlessly varied. At the very center lies the Great Pole, a point of land so far north that compasses from every direction on the disk point toward it like iron filings toward a magnet. Ancient civilizations built their first cities as close to the Great Pole as they could survive, believing it to be the literal center of existence, the axis around which all life turns. They were not wrong. From the Great Pole, the land spreads outward in every direction. Continents drift like islands in a vast ocean. Some are lush and green and warm. Some are cold and ancient and enormous. The further you travel from the center, the stranger and more wild the world becomes. The animals grow larger. The storms grow more violent. The sky takes on colors at night that no painter has ever fully captured. And at the very edge of everything, at the outermost boundary of the disk, there is the wall. The wall of ice. It rises from the ocean at the rim of the world, a cliff of ancient, blue-white ice that climbs into the clouds and keeps climbing. No one who has ever stood at its base and looked up has been able to see the top. It is simply too high. It disappears into a permanent layer of cloud and mist that no one has ever penetrated. The wall holds the oceans in. It holds the air in. It holds the world in. Without it, the seas would pour off the edge and the sky would bleed away into the darkness beyond. What lies beyond the wall, nobody knows. In this world, the sun and moon are not the distant, enormous objects we know them as. They are smaller, closer, almost intimate. The sun rises every morning from the eastern regions of the disk and traces a slow circle above the surface, illuminating everything beneath it in a moving pool of light and warmth. Think of a lantern being carried in slow circles above a vast table, the light falling where the lantern passes, the shadows retreating ahead of it and closing in behind. From where you are standing, the sun does not rise from below the horizon the way it does in our world. In the flat world, the sun becomes visible when it is close enough to be seen, emerging from the distant haze at the edges of its circular path, and it sets by receding into that same haze on the far side. It never disappears below the ground. It simply goes far enough away that it becomes too faint to illuminate you. This means that the quality of light in the flat world is different from anything we know. Dawn does not come from one direction. It comes from a brightening across the whole sky as the sun approaches. Dusk is a slow dimming in all directions simultaneously as the sun retreats. The shadows at noon are short and sharp and directly below you. But in the hours before dusk, the shadows stretch out toward the outer edges of the disk, long and strange, pointing toward the wall. The moon follows a similar path, smaller than the sun, cooler. It traces its own circle above the disk, sometimes overlapping with the sun's path, sometimes diverging. On nights when the moon is closest to your position, it is large enough to cast shadows, crisp, silver-edged shadows that make the world look like an engraving. Travelers in this world learn to navigate by the moon's position as much as by the stars. And the stars are a fixed dome overhead, a great ceiling of ancient lights that rotate slowly around the Great Pole at the center of the world, never rising or setting, simply wheeling in their eternal circle above the disk. On a clear night in the flat world, you can lie on your back and watch the entire universe turning above you, every star visible from everywhere on the disk. The same stars from the center as from the edge, the same constellations that your great-grandmother named and her great-grandmother before her. The sky is not a mystery in this world. It is a ceiling. Beautiful, fixed, and familiar. The oceans of the flat world are different from ours in one profound way. They know where they end. In our world, the ocean is technically endless, or rather, it curves back on itself, a closed loop with no true boundary. You could sail in one direction forever and eventually return to where you started. The ocean has no edge, no final shore, no place where the water stops and something else begins. In the flat world, the ocean has an edge. The great outer ocean, the body of water that rings the outermost rim of the disk, flows continuously against the base of the wall. Stand at the shore of the outer ocean, and you are standing at the last beach in the world. Behind you, the entire civilization of the disk stretches back toward the center. Ahead of you, the water churns and crashes against ice that goes up forever. And beneath that water, somewhere down in the dark, where the disk itself ends, is the edge of everything. Sailors who reach the outer ocean describe it differently from any other body of water. It is colder, even in summer. The waves move strangely, not toward the shore, as waves do in most places, but in circular patterns, as though the water itself is uncertain which way to move. The fish are unlike anything found in the inner seas. Some are pale and eyeless, having evolved in the permanent shadow near the wall. Some are enormous, growing to sizes that inner-sea sailors refuse to believe when they hear about them. The great sailing nations of the flat world have been pushing into the outer ocean for centuries. Every generation, ships go further. Every generation, fewer come back. The ones that do return bring stories. They speak of a current that runs parallel to the wall, moving with terrifying speed, circular, as though the entire outer ocean is one vast whirlpool slowly spinning around the edge of the world. Ships that catch this current cannot fight it. They are carried along the wall for days, sometimes weeks, before they can break free. The sailors who survive this describe seeing things in the mist at the base of the wall. Shapes, structures, things that look almost like architecture, carved into the ice but impossibly large. Doorways the size of mountains, symbols that no scholar has been able to identify. Nobody knows what they are. Nobody has gotten close enough to be certain. The wall does not welcome visitors. Human civilization on the flat world developed with one obsession that ours never had: the question of what lies at the edge. In our world, the great organizing questions of early civilization were survival, agriculture, war, and trade. We looked up at the sky and wondered what the stars were. We looked across the ocean and wondered what was on the other side. In the flat world, those questions existed too, but underneath all of them, shaping all of them, driving all of them, was the edge. Every religion in the flat world has a theology of the wall. Every philosophy has a position on what lies beyond it. Every culture has stories passed down through thousands of years of heroes who tried to climb it. Some of these heroes are gods, some are monsters, all of them are remembered. The great empires of the flat world did not form along coastlines the way ours did. They formed along the paths toward the edge. The most powerful nations were the ones that controlled the routes to the outer ocean. The most valuable trade goods were not spices or silk. They were artifacts recovered from the near-wall regions, fragments of the wall itself. Pieces of ice so ancient and so compressed that they carry within them air from the earliest days of the world, when the sky was different and the sun was younger. The flat world's version of the Silk Road was called the Rim Road, a network of trade routes, rest stations, and fortified cities that ran in a great circle around the outer portions of the inhabited disk, connecting the cultures of the edge to the cultures of the interior. To travel the full Rim Road was a journey of years. The people who completed it were celebrated the way we celebrate astronauts, as people who had seen things that the rest of civilization could only imagine. Architecture in the flat world reflects its geography in a way that ours does not. In the interior regions, near the Great Pole, cities are built tall and narrow, reaching upward toward the fixed stars above. In the outer regions, near the wall, cities are built low and wide and heavy, as though they know they are near the edge of everything and they want to hold on. The great outer cities have walls of their own, not the wall, but walls facing the ocean, thick and ancient, built to withstand the storms that come off the outer ocean in the winter months. Storms so violent that they have their own names in every language, storms that sailors call the wall's breath. Religion in the flat world is both simpler and more complex than ours. Simpler because the physical shape of the universe is obvious. Everyone can see that the sky is a dome, that the sun circles above, that the edge exists and is real. There is no debate about whether the world has a boundary. The only debate is what the boundary means and what or who put it there. The most widespread belief across the flat world is that the wall was built, not formed naturally, not created by geological processes, but constructed deliberately by something that was here before humans. The evidence they point to is the wall's regularity. It is too uniform, too consistent, too perfectly circular, enclosing the entire disk with a precision that no natural formation could achieve. Scholars who have studied its base with instruments have found that it is exactly the same height, exactly the same composition, at every point they have measured. Something made the wall, and whatever made it made the world inside it. Let us come down from the grand questions for a moment and just walk through an ordinary day. You wake up in a city in the middle regions of the disk, not so far from the great pole that the world feels vast and dangerous, but not so close to the center that the sun passes directly overhead at noon. A comfortable latitude, if latitude means anything in a flat world. The morning sky brightens the way I described, not from one horizon but from everywhere at once, a general brightening, as though the world itself is waking up rather than the sun rising over it. It is a softer transition than our sunrises. No dramatic moment when the sun clears the horizon, just a slow, gentle awakening of light. The air is clear and the temperature is mild. In the flat world, weather works differently. Without the curvature of a globe channeling air currents in the patterns we know, the weather systems are larger and slower. Storms that develop over the disk can become enormous, covering regions the size of continents, but they move slowly and predictably. People in the flat world are very good at reading weather. They have had to be. The storms in the outer regions especially, the wall's breath, can last for months. You step outside, the street is wide and the buildings are stone. Most construction in the interior regions uses the abundant stone that comes from the central mountain ranges near the Great Pole. The streets follow straight lines from the center outward. Let us go to the edge. You have traveled for weeks, by road and then by ship across the outer seas. The weather has gotten colder and stranger with every day. The sun takes longer to reach you on its circular path and seems cooler when it does, as though the distance from the center dilutes its warmth. And then one morning you come over a ridge, or you round a headland in your ship, and you see it for the first time. The wall. Nothing prepares you for it. You have seen paintings, you have read descriptions, scholars have written volumes about it, but none of that touches what it is like to actually stand before it. It is not white the way you imagined it. It is every shade of blue, deep cobalt at the base where it meets the outer ocean, aquamarine and turquoise in the middle sections where light penetrates from above, pale ice blue near the top where the mist begins, and above the mist just darkness, the kind of darkness that feels like it goes on forever. The wall is not silent, it makes sounds, constant, deep geological sounds, groans and cracks, and something that might be the movement of ice under pressures too immense to imagine. Sometimes the sounds form patterns, almost rhythmic, like breathing. The sailors who spend time near the wall say you stop noticing it after a few days, but on the first night it keeps you awake. The base of the wall meets the ocean in a chaos of broken ice and white water. The current here is powerful. The great circular current of the outer ocean presses against the wall with constant force, and the wall sheds ice into it constantly. Icebergs calve from the lower sections with sounds like cannon fire and drift away into the current, carried off to melt in the warmer inner seas. You cannot see the top, you cannot see the other side. You cannot see around it, it curves away in both directions into the mist, and your eye cannot follow it far enough to understand its scale. It is simply the end of the world, the last thing, the boundary. People who stand here for the first time almost always cry. Not from fear, though there is fear. Not from sadness, though there is something like grief in it, but from scale. From the sudden, overwhelming physical understanding that the world has a limit. That all of civilization, all of history, all of human life, every city, every war, every love story, every invention, every song exists within this boundary, on this disk, under this sky. And what is on the other side? You ask the question out loud, even though there is nobody nearby to answer it. The wall does not answer. The ocean does not answer. The wind carries your words away and swallows them. But here, and this is the moment that people who have stood at the wall describe most often when they come back, here at the edge, you feel something you did not expect. You feel small, but not in a crushing way, in a clarifying way, in the way that reminds you that being small inside something enormous is not a failure. It is just the truth of what you are. And somehow, standing at the literal edge of the world, that truth feels like enough. In the flat world, there is one question that every civilization, every religion, every philosopher, every sailor, and every child eventually asks. What is on the other side of the wall? Nobody knows, not for certain, but the theories, the stories, the beliefs, the visions of dreamers, and the calculations of scholars are as varied and as beautiful as anything the human imagination has ever produced. Some believe there is nothing, that the wall is the last thing in existence, and beyond it is a void, not space, not darkness, not emptiness in the way we understand it, but a genuine absence of anything at all, the end of existence itself, the nothing that the disk floats in like a leaf on water. Some believe there are other disks, other flat worlds drifting in the void, each one enclosed in their own wall, each one inhabited by their own civilizations, their own histories, their own people who stand at their own edges and ask their own version of the same question. In this cosmology, the universe is an infinite ocean of darkness populated by countless islands of light and life, each one sealed from the others, each one complete and entire and unaware of the rest. Some believe the beyond is where the dead go, that the wall is not a physical barrier but a spiritual threshold, that death is not an ending but a crossing, a climbing of the wall into whatever is on the other side. This belief makes the wall sacred in many cultures of the flat world. Pilgrims travel for years to stand at its base and feel close to those they have lost. They leave offerings in the ice. They carve names into the lowest reachable sections of the wall. Millions of names, carved by millions of hands over thousands of years. A record of grief and love written into the boundary of the world. And some believe the most ancient stories, the ones that predate writing, the ones that were passed from mouth to mouth for so long that their origin is completely unknown, that beyond the wall is the maker, whatever constructed the disk, whatever put the wall in place and hung the dome of stars above and set the sun and moon circling, that it is still there, beyond the wall, watching, patient, enormous beyond comprehension, and that the wall is not a prison but a cradle. Not meant to keep the world in, but to keep the world safe from whatever is out there. Standing at the base of the wall, looking up at something that goes beyond sight, you find yourself hoping that is the one that is true. Here is the thing about the flat world. It is smaller than ours, more bounded, more knowable. On our spherical Earth, there is no edge, no wall, no place where the world ends and something else begins. You can sail in any direction forever, and the world curves back on itself like a dream with no ending. The ocean has no final shore. The sky is not a dome, but an opening, an infinite, terrifying opening into a universe so vast that the numbers used to describe it have no meaning to the human brain. Our nearest neighboring star is so far away that light, traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second, takes 4 years to reach us from there. The flat world is a place where humans are central, where the universe has a shape that makes sense, where the edge is real and the sky is a ceiling, and the whole of existence fits inside a boundary you could theoretically sail to. Our world is a place where humans are not central, where we are a thin layer of biology on a medium-sized rock, orbiting an average star in the outer arm of a galaxy containing 200 billion other stars, in a universe containing at least 2 trillion other galaxies. The flat world is more comforting. Our world is more extraordinary. And maybe that is the real reason the flat Earth idea never fully disappears, not because people are confused about physics, but because there is something in us that wants the world to be the kind of place where we matter, where the edge is findable, where the sky is a roof, where the universe was made for us, or at least with us in mind. The flat world speaks to that part of us, that deep, very human need for a world that has edges, for a story that has an ending, for a universe that is, at its heart, habitable not just physically but existentially, a place where a person can stand at the boundary and feel that they belong inside it. Our world does not offer that. Our world offers something harder and stranger and less immediately comforting. It offers the truth. And the truth is that we are on a sphere, spinning, hurtling, tiny beyond description, floating in a universe so large that the word large does not begin to describe it. And yet here we are, alive, wondering, asking questions, making art, falling in love, building cities, telling stories. Maybe being that small inside something that enormous is not the tragedy the flat Earth believers fear it is. Maybe it is the most astonishing thing about us. If you lived in the flat world, and you could choose one thing to do with your life, would you spend it in the warm, civilized interior near the Great Pole, or would you go to the edge? Would you be the person who stays, who builds something in the center, who raises a family in the light of the circling sun, who lives and dies having never seen the wall? Or would you be the one who goes, who spends years traveling outward, who crosses the outer seas, who stands at the base of the wall and looks up and feels that strange mixture of fear and wonder and smallness? And if you got to the top, if somehow, against all odds, you made it over the wall and looked at whatever is on the other side, would you come back and tell everyone what you saw? Or would you stay? Tell me in the comments and tell me why, because I think the answer says something real about who you are. Also, don't forget to subscribe.